The conversations started the week after Evelyn's husband died, when the silence in the house became so oppressive that even her own breathing sounded like an intrusion. And she found herself standing in front of the bathroom mirror at 2 a.m. saying, "I'm still here, just to hear a voice, any voice, break the suffocating quiet." What unsettled her wasn't that she was talking to herself, because loneliness does strange things to people, and everyone knows that, but rather that after the third night of these midnight conversations, her reflections started talking back with words Evelyn hadn't spoken, in a voice that sounded like hers, but wasn't quite right, like a recording played at slightly the wrong speed. At first she thought it was exhaustion, grief playing tricks on her mind, the brain's desperate attempt to fill the void Michael had left when his heart had stopped on a Tuesday afternoon while he was reading the paper. No warning, no goodbye, just there and then not there, and Evelyn had been alone in the house on Willow Creek Road ever since, 53 years old and suddenly untethered from the only life she'd known. So of course she was seeing things that weren't there, hearing things that couldn't be real. But on the seventh night, when she stood before the mirror and said, "I can't do this anymore," and her reflection said, "Then don't," while her own lips remained closed, Evelyn understood with terrible clarity that whatever was happening wasn't exhaustion or grief or madness. It was something else entirely, something that had been waiting in the mirror for a very long time, waiting for her to be alone enough, broken enough, desperate enough to finally listen. Evelyn Morris had lived in the same house for 28 years, the modest two-story colonial where she and Michael had raised their daughter Amanda before Amanda had left for college, and then California, and then a life so removed from Willow Creek that she only called on holidays and birthdays, her voice always slightly distracted, always with someone more important waiting in the background. Michael's death had brought Amanda home for the funeral. 3 days of stilted conversations and obligations. But she'd left again quickly, citing work, citing commitments, citing all the reasons why a 45-minute flight from her mother, who'd just lost her husband, was impossible to make more than once a year. So Evelyn was alone. Completely devastatingly alone in a house that had once held 3 lives and now held only 1. And that one life was so quiet, so diminished, that sometimes Evelyn would go entire days without speaking aloud, without hearing her own voice, without any confirmation that she still existed. The mirror in the upstairs bathroom was old, original to the house, with a beveled edge and slight imperfections in the glass that made reflections waver at the edges. Evelyn had always liked it, had appreciated its antique quality, the way it made her look softer, kinder than the harsh modern mirrors in stores that showed every flaw with surgical precision. Now she stood in front of it at 2:17 a.m. on her 8th night alone, and her reflection was looking at her with an expression Evelyn hadn't put on her own face. "You look tired," her reflection said. Evelyn's lips hadn't moved. She was certain of that. She'd been watching carefully, paying attention to every detail. But her reflection had spoken, the words clear and distinct, and now it was smiling at her with a sympathy that felt almost mocking. "I am tired," Evelyn whispered, her real voice, her real lips moving. "You should rest," the reflection said. "Stop fighting it." "Fighting what?" "The truth. The thing you've been running from. The reason you're really alone." Evelyn's hands gripped the edge of the sink. "Michael died. That's why I'm alone." The reflection's smile widened slightly. "Is it? What are you?" "I'm you. The part you don't let anyone see. The part you've been hiding for 28 years. "I'm not hiding anything." "Then why do you stand here every night? Why do you come to this mirror instead of the one downstairs, the one in the hallway, the one in your bedroom? Why this one specifically?" Evelyn didn't have an answer. She'd been drawn to this mirror without thinking about it, without questioning the impulse. But her reflection was right. There were other mirrors in the house, closer to her bedroom, more convenient. Why did she climb the stairs to the second floor, walk past the guest room, come to this specific bathroom? Because, her reflection said softly, this is where it started. This is where you made the choice. And you come here every night hoping I'll finally let you forget. I don't understand. Yes, you do. You've always understood. You just haven't been ready to remember. Evelyn turned away from the mirror, left the bathroom, went back to bed. But she didn't sleep. She lay in the darkness thinking about what her reflection had said. What choice? What was there to remember? The next morning, she tried to convince herself it had been a dream. A vivid, disturbing dream, but just a dream. She avoided the upstairs bathroom, used the one on the first floor, kept herself busy with tasks, sorting through Michael's clothes, organizing paperwork, anything to keep her mind occupied. But that night, at 2 a.m., she found herself climbing the stairs again, standing in front of the mirror again, waiting. Her reflection appeared, and this time it looked sad. You came back. I want answers. If you're some hallucination my grief brain created, fine. But I need to understand what you're talking about. What choice? What truth? You really don't remember? The reflection tilted its head, studying Evelyn. Or you've gotten so good at forgetting that you've forgotten you're forgetting. Stop talking in riddles. This house, this bathroom, 28 years ago. What happened here, Evelyn? Evelyn tried to remember. 28 years ago was 1997. She and Michael had just bought the house. Amanda would have been 8 years old. They'd been happy, normal. Nothing remarkable had happened, except a flutter of something in her memory. A fragment. Amanda asking where they'd gotten the new mirror. Evelyn saying it came with the house. But that wasn't quite right, was it? They'd replaced the bathroom mirror, hadn't they? Or had they? You're starting to remember, her reflection said. I can see it in your face. The way your eyes move. The way you're trying not to know what you know. There was another mirror, Evelyn said, slowly. Before this one. It was cracked. I broke it? Yes. Why did I break it? Because you saw something in it. Something you couldn't accept. The memory was there, just out of reach, like trying to remember a dream upon waking. Evelyn could feel it pressing against her consciousness, demanding to be acknowledged. What did I see? Her reflection leaned closer to the glass, and Evelyn could feel cold radiating from it, could see her breath misting in the air despite it being June. You saw me, the reflection whispered, the real you, the one who made the choice. And suddenly, like a dam breaking, Evelyn remembered. 1997, August. Amanda was at a friend's house for a sleepover. Michael was traveling for work, a conference in Boston, 3 days. Evelyn was alone in the house, and she'd been standing in this bathroom, in front of the old mirror, crying, because she'd found out she was pregnant. The memory hit her like a physical blow. Pregnant. At 41, when Amanda was already 8. When they'd agreed their family was complete. When Evelyn had finally started having a life beyond motherhood. Had just taken a part-time job she loved. Had been planning to go back to school. She remembered standing in front of that old mirror, the pregnancy test in her hand, trying to decide what to do. Michael would want to keep it. He'd always wanted more children. But Evelyn didn't. She'd loved being Amanda's mother, but she'd also spent years looking forward to this phase of her life, to having independence, to being more than someone's wife and mother. And in that moment, looking at her reflection in the old mirror, she'd made a choice. No, Evelyn whispered now in the present to her current reflection. No, I didn't. You did, the reflection said. You scheduled the appointment. You told Michael it was a miscarriage when he got home. Let him grieve for a child that had never been lost because you'd chosen to end the pregnancy. And you never told him the truth. Never told anyone. Evelyn felt sick. That was my right. My choice. I had every right to... I'm not judging you, the reflection interrupted. I'm you, remember? I know why you did it. I know the fear, the desperation, the certainty that having another child would erase the person you were trying to become. I understand all of it. Then why bring it up now? Why torture me with this? Because you need to understand what happened after. What you did after you made that choice. I grieved. I mourned. Michael and I moved forward. No, the reflection said. You broke the mirror. That day, after you got home from the clinic, you came upstairs, looked at your reflection, and you couldn't stand what you saw. So you put your fist through the glass, bled all over the sink, told Michael when he got home that you'd slipped and fallen against it. Evelyn's hand moved unconsciously to her right wrist, where a thin scar ran along the base of her palm. She'd always told people it was from a kitchen accident. Had she told that lie so many times, she'd started to believe it? And when you replaced the mirror, her reflection continued, something happened. Something transferred. The part of you that couldn't live with what you'd done, the guilt and grief and secret, it stayed in the glass. In me. You've been looking at an incomplete reflection for 28 years, Evelyn. A version of yourself that's missing the part that remembers the truth. That's impossible, is it? You've been standing here every night since Michael died, talking to me. Does that seem possible? Evelyn backed away from the mirror, but her reflection didn't move with her. It stayed centered in the glass, watching. What do you want from me? Evelyn asked. I want you to remember. Fully. Not just the choice, but what came after. What it cost you. It cost me guilt. I've lived with it for 28 years. Have you? Have you really? Or have you been conveniently forgetting, letting me carry it for you, checking in occasionally, to make sure I'm still here, holding all the pain you don't want to feel? Evelyn thought about the nights over the years when she'd stood in this bathroom, staring at the mirror without quite knowing why. The strange compulsion that brought her here during moments of stress or sadness. The way she'd always felt watched in this house, observed as if someone was keeping score. Why now? She asked. Why wait until Michael died to tell me this? Because Michael's death freed you. For the first time in 28 years, you don't have to hide the truth from him. And without him here, you're starting to fracture. The you that forgot and the me that remembers were coming apart. I don't want this. I don't want to integrate or merge or whatever you think should happen. I made my peace with what I did. Did you? The reflection's voice was gentle but insistent. Then why are you so alone? Why did Amanda stop calling? Why did you stop having friends over? Why has your entire life shrunk down to this house and these rooms and these mirrors? That's what happens when you get older. People drift apart. No, that's what happens when you spend 28 years unable to be fully present with anyone because you're holding on to a secret so big it's eating you from the inside out. Amanda felt it. Michael felt it. Everyone who ever tried to get close to you felt that part of you that wasn't really there, that was locked away in this mirror. Evelyn slid down to sit on the bathroom floor, her back against the tub. So what do I do? How do I fix this? Tell the truth, out loud, to someone who matters. Michael's dead. Amanda barely speaks to me. Who's left? Me, the reflection said. Tell me. Tell yourself. Say it out loud. Every detail, every choice, every lie. Bring it out of the mirror and back into your body where it belongs. So Evelyn did. She sat on the cold tile floor and told her reflection everything about the pregnancy test, about the fear and the resentment and the clarity that she couldn't do it again, about the clinic, the procedure, the physical pain that was nothing compared to the emotional weight, about lying to Michael, letting him grieve for a miscarriage that never was, about the guilt that had followed her every day for 28 years, that colored every interaction, every relationship, every moment of potential happiness. I killed our child, Evelyn whispered. Not medically, I know the medical reality. But I killed the future we could have had. I killed the person I could have been if I'd been brave enough to have that child or brave enough to tell Michael the truth. And I've been half alive ever since, going through motions, playing a role, because the real me was too ashamed to exist. Her reflection nodded slowly. And now? Now I don't know. Michael's gone. I can't tell him the truth. I can't fix it. You can't fix what happened, but you can stop splitting yourself in two. You can stop giving me your pain to hold. You can take it back and learn to live with it instead of hiding from it. How? Look at me. Really look. See the whole person, not just the parts you can stand. Evelyn pulled herself up, faced the mirror fully, and for the first time in 28 years, she looked at her reflection without flinching away from what she saw. She saw the woman who'd made an impossible choice, the woman who'd lied to protect herself, the woman who'd carried guilt like a stone in her chest until it had hollowed her out. But she also saw the woman who'd survived, who'd raised Amanda into a capable, independent adult, who'd supported Michael through his career, his dreams, his life, who'd done good work, had kind moments, had loved even if that love was always slightly held back. She saw herself, complete, flawed, human. "I forgive you," Evelyn said, and she wasn't sure if she was talking to her reflection or herself. Maybe they were the same thing now. The reflection smiled, and this time it felt genuine. "I forgive you too." And slowly, gradually, the reflection began to match Evelyn's movements perfectly again. When Evelyn raised her hand, so did the reflection. When Evelyn turned her head, the reflection turned too. Synchronized, no longer independent, the separation had healed. Evelyn left the bathroom and went back to bed. She slept deeply for the first time since Michael died, and when she woke in the morning, she felt different, lighter, more present, more whole. She called Amanda that day. Really called. Not just the brief check-ins they usually had. "Mom, is everything okay?" "I need to tell you something," Evelyn said. "About your father and me. About a decision I made a long time ago. And I need you to listen without judging me, even though what I did might make you think less of me." There was a pause. Then, "Okay, I'm listening," Evelyn told her. Not everything. Some things were meant to stay between her and Michael, but enough. About the pregnancy, the choice, the lie. About the guilt she'd carried and how it had affected their family, how it had made her less available, less present, less capable of fully loving anyone because part of her was always locked away. Amanda was quiet for a long time after Evelyn finished. Then she said, "Mom, I'm pro-choice. You know that. And I understand why you made that decision, but I wish you'd told Dad. I wish you hadn't carried that alone." "So do I. I need to think about this, about what it means for our relationship, for my memories of Dad. But Mom, thank you for telling me. Thank you for finally trusting me with the truth." They talked for another hour, really talked, in a way they hadn't since Amanda was a teenager. And when they hung up, Evelyn felt another weight lift. She lived in the house on Willow Creek Road for another 12 years after that. Amanda visited more often, brought grandchildren eventually, filled the house with noise and life. Evelyn dated briefly, but decided she preferred solitude to forcing connection. She volunteered at the library, took art classes, traveled when she could afford it, and every night before bed, she looked in the mirror, sometimes the one upstairs, sometimes others, and she saw herself clearly, completely, without splitting or hiding or pretending parts of herself didn't exist. The conversations with her reflection never happened again. There was no need. The person in the mirror and the person outside it were finally the same. When Evelyn died at 67, peacefully in her sleep, in the house she'd lived in for 40 years, Amanda came to clean out her things. In the upstairs bathroom, she stood in front of the old beveled mirror and saw her mother's face for just a moment, superimposed over her own. Not a ghost, just memory, just love, just the recognition that we're all mirrors for each other, reflecting back the truths we need to see, the choices we need to acknowledge, the forgiveness we need to give ourselves before we can finally, truly live. In houses all over the world, people stand before mirrors and see reflections that don't quite match, that move independently, that speak truths we're not ready to hear. And most of us look away because facing ourselves, really facing ourselves, complete with every choice and every lie and every failure, is harder than facing any external demon. But sometimes when we're broken enough, alone enough, desperate enough, we'll stand still and listen to what our reflections have to say. And in that listening, we'll discover that the scariest thing in the mirror isn't a monster or a ghost, but ourselves as we really are. And the bravest thing we can do is accept that person, forgive that person, integrate that person into who we are now, so we can finally stop living split in two. Stop carrying secrets that divide us. Stop talking to reflections as if they're separate from us, when really they're just showing us what we already know, but haven't had the courage to acknowledge, that we're whole and broken and guilty and innocent and capable of both terrible choices and tremendous love. And the only way forward is to stop running from the face in the mirror and instead say, yes, that's me, all of me, and I'm ready to be whole again.